Welcome back to Mountain Adventures. In this episode, we're going to look at tackling the walls,
which you can see a little sneak preview of over there. So stay tuned to see how we do it. We've just got back from buying a whole load of plywood. So here we've got 4 sheets of the 12mm poplar ply, which is the super lightweight stuff, and then we've also got a bunch of their 6mm poplar ply as well. So the 6mm will be going on the walls, and then the 12mm we're going to probably look at building maybe one of our cupboards in our kitchen out of. So we're now going to start priming it so it doesn't warp everywhere.
Prime some of the sheets of plywood ready, so we'll now look at popping them up on the wall. For the most part we're going to have our kind of sheets joining vertically, so they'll go full height. So we'll measure that up and we'll rip some of these bigger boards down to the right size so they take up the full height.
We have our first piece of wall for the van, not including the bulkhead wall obviously. You can see Alex has been busy this morning and has already cut some of it down to fit the shape of the van. We are now trimming it down, so you may be able to see there's a couple of little marks here that we're going to cut across, and then also we're going to create a little notch here for a chunk of our conduit, and this is going to sit right behind the driver's seat in the van basically. We've got the first piece of wall in. It's not quite screwed in yet, but it's fitting in. See down here we've got a few cutouts for our conduit, and the plan now is to attempt to find the battens that are behind it and screw it into the wall.
We've got note of where all our battens are, measurements along and up from the floor. So hopefully now we'll be able to find those, screw it in, and then obviously at some point we've covered our window, so we're going to drill a hole roughly in a corner, and then we'll flush trim route all of that out at some point.
Ready for our window frame to be attached later.
Yes indeed.
We've got our first piece of wall on and attached. Sorry for the bad lighting, it's a very overcast, rainy day today. And in other news, we sprung a small leak in our small window, so that'll get fixed at some point. But back to the wall, we've got our first piece on, screwed it in, managed to find all the battens eventually. We had a few misses, but
a couple of misses up here. Some of these we think were probably hits, but felt like misses, so we did it again. So yeah, we got a wood fill over all of it, and then painted all again because there's markings galore all over it.
Hey. We are going to start cutting the next piece of wall, which is going right here. As you can probably guess, this is where the fuse cupboard is going. So the wall here is going to do some interesting things. We're going to just come all the way below it, all on the way along here. So all of this will just poke out the front because you won't see it will be in the cupboard. We're going to put a front into it later on. And then the wall will come up here just so we can attach it so it can be nice and sturdy, and then drop back down again under this second load of conduit, and then come up and go all the way along to about here on this batten. So it's going to kind of be a big rectangle with lots of weird little cutouts going, and cutouts down there for those conduit. So this one's going to be quite a bit more complicated than that one.
We've attached the second piece of wall in all its glory. As we mentioned, we've done lots of dodgy cutouts around the conduit. That's all going to be hidden, so we're not too worried about that. We've been round and wood filled the screw holes, as you can probably see there.
And all over my fingers. We're going to leave it to dry for a moment, probably go grab a cup of tea and then come back and sand it down, which means it'll be ready for painting, but we're not going to paint it yet because we want to be able to see where our screw holes are for when we attach the furniture, because that means we can see where our battens are, so we know where to drill our furniture in and we don't have to go through the whole measuring and lining everything up process again.
We're looking at cutting the door pieces for the back doors, so we need to scribe it to this black trim, and then these catches get in the way, so we're just going to take these catches off so that we can fit the plywood in to scribe, but there's no electricals or anything there, so we'll get rid of them. Shouldn't take too long. Alright, we've got the back door piece ready to cut, so we've scribed round the shape of the trim, got the window cut out there, and then we've got the door catch cut out here. We'll need another one at the top, but we'll get this done, make sure everything fits, and then we can mark where that top cutout is.
Maybe
I really can't tell.
It might look at a slight that way diagonal.
Viewers, does it look wonky? I mean, you're also at an angle, so that doesn't help. We cut both back pieces of door, overlapped them, and now we've just drawn a line between where they overlap, so that hopefully when we cut perfectly down that line, it will all fit snug as a bug in a rug.
The next thing we've had to do for these doors is cut out a hole for the actual door handles where you grip them, otherwise you won't be able to open it. So this is the first dry fit of that. Slot it into place. So it's this hole here that we're hoping will fit. And there's a little plastic trim around the door handle, which we're planning on popping on top of the plywood. So
right, roughly like that. And then we shut this door, we come inside.
So this is the line that the trim was supposed to sit on, and we've cut just inside that because we were hoping that we could basically sandwich the plywood between the outer trim and the inner trim, but looking at it now I think there's just too big of a gap in there, so that might not work.
Right, we've refit this trim behind because we decided we wouldn't be able to get the flex on our 6mm ply, and so that it would cover that. So the current thinking is we've got this leftover trim from fitting the windows, is we'll just tuck that on all the way around just to finish off that raw edge. So we'll take it off and obviously we'll paint this at some point, but this is just to test what it looks like.
Then yeah, I think that'll look perfect.
Yeah.
Now that everything is cut, trimmed and fitting nicely, all that's left to do is screw it in. The remaining pieces were pretty easy to fit, and it got a bit repetitive, so we didn't film much, but here's a little clip to give you an idea.
Right, we're back in the van. It's raining quite heavily, it's thundering, there's lightning, but we've got the pieces cut, so we just got to put up the last 3 pieces up there, and a little bit of patchwork down there. So let's finish these walls off.
We've got the last wall piece on now, and it is rather dark in the van again because we've basically only got that window and the 2 behind me uncovered. We're going to start flush trim routing our windows though for these 2, so you can see we've left ourselves a little hole to get the router in so we can start on each of these, and then it should hopefully get a bit brighter again. You can hear Alex rustling around.
My bad. I'm trying to find our flush trim routing bit. There it is.
We bought a new one, didn't we?
We did.
Cool.
There it is.
Yeah, beautiful. Alex has the router here, and we've got the flush trim bit on it, And the plan is to take that flush trim router bit through that hole you can see in our wall, and behind that is our window. So the plan is to put it through there and then run it along till it hits our window frame. Then that flush trim router bit should just run nicely along the window frame, cutting it out perfectly. And here is our lovely routed out window. I'm going to take you up for a closer look because this poplar plywood stuff creates so much sawdust every time we do anything with it. Look at all that, just from routing out this tiny little hole. It is the return of the sawdust bag. So those of you who have watched our wall build may have seen that we were collecting sawdust for our composting toilet later on. And that looks like a prime candidate.
See what I have to put up with.
Think of all the poop this is going to absorb. It's going to be beautiful.
We just buy a massive bag for like £1.
Look, I don't want it going to waste. You want to be
You
green.
want it being used for waste.
Yes.
Oh dear, well you best collect that rainwater as well while you're at it. We don't want that
Hey,
going to waste.
Don't tempt me. There will be a rain barrel on the roof before you know it. Right, we've just been hoovering up all that sawdust that was in that corner. And if I take you over here, you can see this little pile. This was after we hoovered. And all I've been doing is whacking this bit of wall and this has all come out. So we're going to also do this over here.
It's all falling down the back.
Yep. This week you're going to see us fit is try to fit or let me wait, go back. Let me try that again.
Just hit my head. It's the first time. What are my measurements? 63.62 what? Why did the wall not fit?
You can see a sneaky preview here, so stay tuned.
Preview. It's not a sneaky.
A sneaky preview.
Sneaky.
A sneaky preview. You okay?
No.
Let's see.
Bon filmage.